Welcome, everybody, to the X Factor podcast. You already know. It's Nick Lambert. And today we're going to be getting right into it with some AEW review. First thing I got to say before I start getting going here. The show overall I thought was really good. It's the build up to Wembley, and a lot of storylines are getting put together, and it felt strong and it felt new for certain things. Negative thing we'll be getting to in a little bit, and I will be getting into a little bit of a rant over this. But like I always say, you disagree, have your own opinion, comment down below. Always look at the description. My Twitter is always there, XFactorMG5654. X and the MG are both capitalized. And plus, once I hit 1,000, I'm going bald, just for the fans. So, I'm not shaving until I go to 1,000 followers on Twitter and 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So, we're going to be getting right into it here. The first match of the night, Orange Cassidy versus AR Fox. That was, first off, like I seen like NXT and AEW, they always do this. Usually their best matches start off the show. And that just shows Orange Cassidy, AR Fox. They had, obviously, in my opinion, was the best match of the night. AR Fox, very underrated talent. Don't know how he got put in the Indies for 16 years. When he's a credible talent, doesn't matter. He can. I don't care what anyone says about this flippy dippy stuff. This flippy dippy stuff is fucking fun to watch. And Orange Cassidy, he in my eyes, and one thing, and I'm gonna start getting into some things here because there's a lot of things that these wrestling fans say that really bug me in certain aspects. Because I sit here, right, and I look on Twitter and I see people talk about Orange Cassidy's character, or people hate on AEW in general, which is pretty much when I'm looking. It's like 70% of it is a Cornette cult fan base. So, when I look at and see what they say about, especially with Orange Cassidy, yeah, the character might be blah, but the character, in my eyes, it's a good character. He doesn't really gotta say much. He goes in his ring, he does his business, he goes. There's nothing really better. And wrestling-wise, he's up for contention for Wrestler of the Year. Regardless of what anyone says, name me one bad match that this man has had since coming into this year with the championship. I don't think you can name me one of his title defenses that were bad. One of his tag matches that were bad. You can't name me any. Every match that he's had was good. And yet, some wrestlers, yeah, they have about one or two bad matches in the certain of a year, but he has had none. None of his matches have been bad. That's how you know he's doing something good. And a lot of these wrestling fans don't appreciate it enough. Like AEW fans, they appreciate it a lot. But I'm talking about the haters. And I don't know why people hate on, and especially with these AEW fans. They hate on WWE fans hate on AEW. They come so quick to hate on certain stuff when it comes to that, but they won't acknowledge the good shit that they're doing. Like, let's just be honest. They're both companies are struggling in one aspect, and weirdly, it's the same aspect of the sport that they're struggling on, but there's stuff on the outside that they're doing good right now that's really helping them get to the promised lands. But the match with Orange Cassidy and AR Fox, I thought was a really, really good match. After the match, AR Fox, out of frustration, hit Orange Cassidy in the face, or in the back of the head, and as a frustration, and Darby came out, pretty much said, I gave you this opportunity, and it's embarrassing that what you just did. All that kind of things. And it got me thinking for later on, which I'll talk about later on. And then after that, Moxley comes in and takes out Orange Cassidy. And when I'm talking about two guys that get they got so much hate for no reason, Moxley and Orange Cassidy, they're going to come in there and they're going to have a fucking banger match. You can understand they're building that match, and I don't mind if they have a match on Dynamite, but they better have this match on fucking at Wembley, because that match would cook so much. That would be fucking amazing. Imagine Orange Cassidy, Jon Moxley for the International Championship at Wembley Stadium. Some people might say it might not look at it as a good thing, but that shit looks beauty to me. That match about to be good, and I love Jon Moxley. I don't. People hate on him too much. People hate on Cassidy too much. People hate on Kenny too much. People hate on Hangman too much. Young Bucks, I can understand some of the hate with them, but still they get hate too much. It's, I'm just gonna put it there. But Moxley and Orange Cassidy is gonna be amazing. After that, Sammy Guevara and Don Callis Jericho had a backstage thing with Renee Paquette, and Don Callis set up a match with Jericho to help him join with the Don Callis family. And man, let this take one in for Jericho. So Jericho and Takeshita will be facing Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia next week on the 200th episode of Dynamite. Talk about a hit right there, Jericho. And when I talk about storylines that are getting built good, this is one of them I'm talking about. With Jericho, despite what people want to say about Jericho and Don Callis family or whatever, this is good. Like, this is some good stuff that they're doing right now. Because right now, I can sit there and, like, for a lot of rivalries, I could say, like, I can, like, probably think and see and predict what's going to happen. And usually I'm right. This one, I'm, like, legit, like, dead on, like, I don't know if... Because, like, there's a chance Jericho could join Don Callis. But the way they're building it so good, there's a chance Jericho could just say, oh, I want to stay with my family with the JAS. Because later that night, Jericho had a backstage segment with the JAS members, the remaining of the JAS, that were not Sammy Guevara, or Daniel Garcia, or Jake Hager, because they all walked out on him. Anna Jay, Ty Mello, Angela Parker all walked out on him first. Matt Menard came in and pretty much told him to figure it out and left. And, for a while, I did not like the Jericho Appreciation Society. Like, there was no point in having them. And I still don't think there's any point in having them as a group. Because it hasn't elevated anybody besides Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. Let's just be honest. They haven't... What have they done with Matt Menard and Angela Parker? They haven't done nothing. What have they done with Anna Jay besides have that one rivalry with Julia Hart, which I thought was pretty good. And then the stuff that her and Ty Mello were tag partners at one point. They have not done nothing to really say, oh yeah, they need to keep this going for a while. And we're getting to a point where AEW has so much stars that some of the guys that they bring in as originals are getting pushed down the card because they're not as good as the stars that they have right now going in. Which I'll get into that with the women's division because I got some major things to talk about with that. But that's just, my side of the thing. Jack Perry had a promo right after that. A lot of promos coming into this. Which was Jack Perry. He was talking about how he made the FTW title famous again after he won the title. And pretty much told Taz that none of his wrestling buddies could, pretty much compete with him. And next thing I know, fucking Jerry Lynn comes out. And the man, Jerry Lynn, he's pretty old. I'm like, okay, man, you gotta chill now. Might get a heart attack, never know. And pretty much challenges Jack Perry to a fight. And, I like what they're trying to do here. But if they're gonna have Jack Perry go after some of the ECW originals, like, they can bring some of these guys in because a lot of them don't work for the company or don't work for WWE. RVD, it might be a little bit of a push because he had some appearances on SmackDown in the last 2 months. Or in Monday Night Raw. But, like, we could potentially see something in this. And I'm not trying to go full on and say this is what they're fully doing. But if they could, we have a potential in that and Jerry Lynn. Maybe a Bully Ray. Maybe a Tommy Dreamer. I doubt Tommy Dreamer because he's dealing with some stuff right now. I doubt Rhino. there's a potential of so many superstars that they can bring in there and do this proper, which I don't think that they're gonna fully gonna do. Because you still gotta have Taz and Hook get in the middle, Hook will probably come back in about a couple weeks from now, like they do with a lot of the AEW rivalries. They have a guy go away for a couple weeks and then comes back and then beats him. That's usually how it goes. But that was really one of the shocking parts is that Jungle Boy's promo was all right. It's getting better. It's not getting drastically better, but it's just getting going by little steps. And that's pretty much where you got to go by with Jungle Boy at this point. Is little baby steps up and up. And then once you start seeing his full potential, then you'll see his full potential. But Pac versus Gravity. The man Gravity forgot. The start of that match was funny because Pac's like, "Hey, it's me. You remember me? Remember me?" And Gravity's like, "Who the hell are you, man? Like, I forgot who you are." And I love how Excalibur brought in that they used to call him the man who Gravity forgot. I love that they brought that psychology storytelling stuff in there. That's perfect. And the match I thought was all right. It wasn't really much special. And this Gravity guy, I don't know who he is. I haven't seen much of that. I've seen in the match between him and Commander on Death for Star, which I thought was a really good match. This one I didn't think it was that good. I thought it was all right at best. Pac ended up with the win. And Pac, he's another one of those guys that can go after the AEW World Title. I'm just gonna throw that out. That's like a random thing to say, but he is one of I've been holding this off for months. You guys are some of the people that have been watching the last couple months. I've been holding this off for months. I said I was gonna go over the roster and I was gonna tell you what if I would put him in the main card, the mid card, the lower card, or you need some training help, or or you're fired, pretty much. And I'm gonna do that. I'm eventually going to do that. I don't know if it's gonna be next week. I can't do it next week because I'm not gonna be. By the way, I won't be posting anything on YouTube next week unless it's probably some polls on some things. And like I said, the updates will always be on Twitter, XFactorMG5654, capital X, capital M, capital G. So, that'll be for all next week, and then we'll get right back on with the week after that. With SummerSlam review. But the main thing I'm going to talk about is with this whole, I said I was going to go over the rosters. I'm going to start off with Monday Night Raw's roster. I'm going to go to NXT's roster. I'm going to go to Dynamite or AEW, or I will just split them up in two groups and say what part will be on Collision group, what part should be a Dynamite group, and I will go based off, or I'll play like who's going to Dynamite, who's going to Collision. I might do that, or I might just go off the base whole roster and say what guy needs to go to what, this side of the division. And then of course I'll do the Ring of Honor division, with the limited guys that I know who's in that roster. Some of the guys I have seen, some of the guys I haven't. Same thing with Impact. Some of the guys I have seen, some of the guys I haven't. Like I said, I'm just getting back into watching Impact. I watched it a little bit last year, kind of got off of it. Slammiversary came around, now I'm back into it. Which I will be getting to more of a review of stuff with that later on down the road. But we're going to get focused with here now. So, but with Pac and Gravity, I thought the match was alright. MJF, Adam Cole had a backstage segment after that. And, well, pretty much, it was very interesting because MJF kind of, he had a good promo. He really had a really great promo. And pretty much did a Dax Harwood impression, which I thought was pretty funny. And then said he was going to punch Dax Harwood so hard that he's going to spit out CM Punk's jockstrap. That got a lot of turn faces going. Like, that was like a damn moment. But the main thing I got off of this was MJF is giving Adam Cole a rematch for the title. And this has been another storyline that I've been telling that is getting, you're getting down to that climax and like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Because now, and always me reading people on Twitter having their own suggestions, their own opinions. Now it's got me all confused because now I sit there and think, well, Adam Cole could potentially turn heel if he wanted to on MJF and have it switched. A big mind-boggling turn heel right there. Or have MJF do the same thing over and turn heel on Adam Cole. The way they're building it up, it seems like they're going to have MJF and Adam Cole. That seems like they're going to have MJF turn on Adam Cole. Based off what they're doing with this whole stuff with Roderick Strong getting in the middle of it. Or I can go a little bit of WCW here and have this whole thing where, because WCW did this they put Sting and Flair together for a tag match against Arn Anderson, and I think it was Brian Pillman or Chris Benoit. Don't remember one of those two, because they were just bringing in the Horsemen for a revamp somewhat. And like Sting did a hot tag to Flair. Flair took out Sting and pretty much turned on him. Like, they could do that if Kyle O'Reilly's ready to come back from injury and him and Roderick Strong are going after MJF and Adam Cole for the tag titles. That's a perfect scenario right there. Right in front of you. And Adam Cole does that to MJF. But I don't see that happening, but if that does happen, that might be the most mind-boggling things that happens, and I will come back on this podcast and say, I knew they were doing that bullshit. It would just be shocking that they actually went with it. But MJF giving Adam Cole a rematch for the title is actually a very thing to look out for. Swerve and Darby Allin. And my eyes, one of the second best match of the night. Swerve and Darby. Swerve, one of the best talents on the roster right now. Darby, another one of the best talents on the roster. You put them both together, you're going to have a banger match. The matches so far was really good. Right before Swerve hit, I don't really know what to call it. It was like he had him in had him on his shoulders and then tipped him over and pretty much hit the apron of the ring. Darby kind of almost got counted out. He gets himself back in. But then AR Fox drags him out and throws him into the pole. Brings him in. Swerve wins. And now our AR Fox is now part of the Mobile Embassy. Now that's where you get thinking, what the hell? Why are they doing this? And if you're a Lucha Underground fan, you would know why they're doing this. I did not watch Lucha Underground, but I've seen a couple things. Always see highlights on Twitter or on Twitter, YouTube, whatever. And AR Fox used to be with Swerve and Lucha Underground. Now they're back together. Now it's legit. You got Brian Cage and the other two guys, can't remember their name, the Mobile Embassy with, they're the 6-man Ring of Honor Tag Champions. Now you got Swerve, and now you got AR Fox. And AR Fox, this is going to be a big thing for AR Fox. Pushing him up to the main card. Can really be. And another thing here, I don't know what the point is with these 6-man tags. Or these 6-man titles. What's the point of the trio titles? What are you accomplishing? Nothing. I don't see any point of having the trios titles in the group of anything. The way, the Elite had it, they made them, they won the first titles pretty much as like, oh yeah, we're best friends here, we're going to have the title, kind of. In my eyes, I don't see what the point is. You have the Young Bucks that are tag team, you have Kenny that's the main star, and Hangman is just there, as the mid-star guy, That's how factions should work. You don't need these 6-man trio championships. In my eyes, it's stupid. You can legit do better than that, in my eyes. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the trios tag team titles. I will get into the main event here because the last thing I'll talk about is Britt Baker and Taya Valkyrie. Best Friends, Lucha Bros, and the Combat Club main event. And it was an underwhelming main event. It was alright, wasn't the best. I just think it was a very underwhelming. There was, spots in the match where I thought were good. Some of them I didn't think it was that good. But one thing though, I always noticed is with Orange Cassidy come out, Moxley got them distracted, Lucha Bros with the win. Now there's a triple threat between Trent Beretta, Moxley, and I think it's Rey Fenix next week. Now we get a triple threat with that. I'm guessing now we're gonna get a triple threat with the other three later on. Which is gonna be interesting. And Orange Cassidy and Moxley, you already know they're doing something with that. Lucha Bros and Best Friends, you already know what they're doing with that. Claudio, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna do something with Pac with him. I don't know. I don't know. And then Wheeler Yuta, he's just there at this point. There's nothing really much to do. Now we're gonna get down to Britt Baker and Taya Valkyrie. And if you've seen the NXT video, I was gonna get the minutes for the women's wrestling match of last week. Hear this shit, right? So, for amount of women's wrestling on a wrestling shows last week, SmackDown got 14 minutes of women's wrestling. Okay, it's a 2-hour show. At least have 30 to an hour. You don't gotta make it even with the men's, but at least have like something good. I think the 14 minutes was Charlotte and Io Sky, I think. Collision got 9, and that was the one match between Taya Valkyrie and Sky Blue. Raw got 6. Out of a 3-hour show, 6 minutes of it was a women's match. I don't even remember what that women's match was, if I'm being honest with you. Rampage got 5, and that was the main event. NXT got 5. I don't remember what that match was, if I'm being honest with you. Impact got 4, and I think that was a tag match. Dynamite got 1. In total, it was 44 minutes, over 14 hours of TV, 5.2% of women's wrestling. Right? Now, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a second, but now we get into this match with Britt Baker and Taya Valkyrie. Going into the match, on paper, the match looks like it's going to be a pretty decent match, This match was about as sloppy could get. The match was awful. There was nothing pretty about that match that I'm like, okay, I can give that a good rating. The rating for this match might be the worst one I've ever had. And I will come out, and every week I will, I'm going to start doing this later on. I'm going to start putting down, I'm going to tell you what the ratings were for most of the matches. I'll put down, what was the best match, what was the worst match, and what was in the mid there, what was underrated, all that kind of stuff. This match might be the worst women's match I might have ever rated. Because the sloppiness in this match was so awful. And I don't know, honestly, a lot of it could be on Taya Valkyrie, but a lot of it can also be put on Britt Baker. Britt Baker, you could see she was trying at some parts, but there was also some parts where it's like, what are you doing? And I see people all the time clowning stuff about having the Performance Center. But you want to know what the Performance Center does? It prevents you from having matches like that on television. What? Do you watch NXT? Do you watch Impact? When they get matches more than 5-10 minutes, those matches are pretty decent. There is no reason at all for how hyped this women's division gets by AEW fans alone to sit there, and there's no excuse for what happened on Dynamite with them too. Britt Baker, she's alright at best. She's not the best, she's not the worst. She needs to get better in the ring, obviously. Taya Valkyrie, I don't know. I don't know if it's just her being washed at this point. I don't know. It seems like every match that she's had has been nearly sloppy as hell. But, a lot of and I want to see the women's division be great. But at the same time, it's hard when you have matches like that. It's like, yeah, I don't want to see that on my television. You know? And right now, especially with Dynamite and Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, it might be the worst time for women's wrestling in the last couple of years. Because you notice when women's wrestling is at its peak and when it's high and it's good and everything's good about it, everything gets higher, they get booked more, they get more pushes. Now we're in a spot where everyone's hurt, matches are sloppy, the bookings are not good, the storylines are not good. And I don't know if they're just trying to slack off. AEW is waiting for Jamie Hayter to come back with Tony Storm or whatever. Because you could sit there and watch Dynamite and you're like, oh yeah, who's the women's world champion? You know, Chris Statler could come out and say, oh, is she the world champion? Because she's doing a lot better shit than a lot of the women's wrestlers right now are doing. And then for you know, SmackDown, you got Charlotte, Bianca, and Asuka. And Asuka's getting overlooked because of them too. And then Io Sky and trying to cash in the stuff with Bayley and Shotzi. That stuff should be getting at least, between all that together on SmackDown, that should be at least getting a half hour of building up television time. And then maybe 45 minutes for matches. Between the storylines, the promos, and the matches, that should you can at least put 45 minutes into that. And maybe 2 or 3 minutes of commercials. That's all you need. And boom, you got a good show right there. And then you can use the rest of that hour and 20 minutes for the men's division. Because let's be honest, the men's division is a lot larger than the women's division. I'm just being honest here. The women's division right now is a lot hurt, and there's not many stars. You know, you got people like Lacey Evans showing up on TV once every 2 months, and they got nothing for her. So she's never on TV. How are you going to book someone when you have nothing for her? Perfect example. And the reason I said I want to go over roster is for examples like this, because you can take chicken shit into chicken salad if you book it right. And honestly, it's like if I'm an NXT superstar right now for the main roster on WWE, if I was an NXT superstar, I'd be worried if they try to call me up. Because you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. You don't know, you might get 2 minutes of wrestling time and you might not get seen for 3 weeks. Where's Indy Hartwell been? She just came off injury. You seen her in a tag team match a couple weeks ago. Candice LeRae, one of the bigger stars in NXT in the last couple of years before coming back. Where's she doing? Katana Chance and Candice Carter, one of the best women tag teams in NXT last year. What are they doing? The best thing I could probably say that they're doing for the women's division on the main roster is having Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville as champions. That's probably the best thing that they're doing right now. Besides probably having this with Io Sky teasing the Money in the Bank cash and stuff. Because that makes it more intense because it's the world title for the women's division for over there. And then the stuff with Bayley and Shotzi, that stuff should be getting more TV time. You know. But it's not. And Bayley's dealing with a knee injury at the moment. I don't know if she is now, but at the last time we knew, she was dealing with a knee injury. It's so hard to sit there and watch the women's division when you either know it's either going to get bad storylines or the match should be sloppy as hell. When I can sit there and I can watch New Japan, Stardom, their own women's promotion, and they have banger matches. Yeah, they have some stupid stuff in there, but the matches are bangers. I can sit there and say, oh, I can stay invested in this. I don't know what is it with, you know, I don't know. They might need to bring some of these New Japan stars to freaking these two promotions and train them on how to wrestle good. I don't know. Charlotte hasn't been the same. Bianca hasn't been the same. Asuka hasn't been the same. Like, Becky has not been the same. You know, a lot of these stars that we used to say a couple years ago are not the same stars now. They're not the best in the ring anymore. what it seems by my eyes. Like, the last really good women's match that we had, besides the Money in the Bank match, was Charlotte and Rhea at WrestleMania. And you could probably put in Natalya and Rhea a couple weeks going Raw. Potentially, you could put that there too. Otherwise, it's just... The way I see it now is, if you're not going to put any care in the women's division, why do you have it? And it's a harsh thing to say, but if you're not going to put the heart and soul and building in the women's division, you need someone that can at least sit there and, book this and then take it over to Triple H and say, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we, put this into the show, put this into the show? And Triple H, who is head of the creative, say, sure, you can do that, you can do that, you can do that. Just say, we're going to put a time slot, a time limit for what you guys can do, because we got other stuff we need to put in there as well. Because, well, let's just be honest, when you watch the show, watch pay-per-views, there's a lot more men's matches than women's matches. That's always how it is. You might get 1 or 2, maybe even 3 women matches on the card, which is always alright. But when you're getting about one match, barely getting one match in for a pay-per-view, not that great, The way I see it at this point, it's just... When Triple H took over last year, you could see a change in the women's division. The women's matches were getting longer. The storytelling was better. The builds up to the pay-per-views were better. The matches were better. Everything was just better. Then we get post WrestleMania. Vince McMahon's back. Everyone's just sitting around, and now everything looks like it's back to the same with Vince. And like I said, people are so much frustrated that there hasn't been that many call-ups, but thank God there isn't any call-ups, because all the call-ups they've brought in, there's nothing they fucking have done. I think the best thing they've done right now for the call-ups was Pretty Deadly, and they're entertaining as hell, and JD McDonough, who's been getting Hulk to join the Judgment Day for months now. Otherwise, for the women's division, they've brought in Indy Hartwell, Katana Chance, Isla Dawn, Alba Fire. Where have they been? I honestly, I think we have 3 matches already built for SummerSlam for the women's division. You have Ronda and Shayna. You got the triple threat. You got Becky and Trish. That's 3. And then a potential in Rhea and Raquel. So that's 4. That's a good start. That's a very good start. So after SummerSlam, I'm gonna say this right now. After SummerSlam, I'm gonna give it from now until WrestleMania. I'm gonna give it a good, easy, long time slot. I'm not gonna say from here to to the new year. I could, but I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna say from here, because we're halfway through the year already, or we're a little over halfway through the year. But we got still almost 9 months left until WrestleMania. 8, 9 months, 7 months around there. Always. So I'm going to give it from there to there. And if there's not an improvement, I would legit just say, just at this point, I give up. I just can't sit there and watch a women's match and say, oh, this is going to be entertaining. And I don't want to think that, because that's what I used to think from 2010s, early 2010s up until the Women's Evolution in 2016. Before the Women's Evolution stuff, the women's wrestling division was not even good. And then, if you're a 2000s wrestling fan, it doesn't even get better, because they get more attention from being built for sex and all that bullshit. At this point, it's just, I don't know what to do. I don't know. As a wrestling fan, it's frustrating. Because I like to watch women matches. And no, not just for their bodies. I actually like watching the women's division, because it has another thing option from the men. And it gives little girls that watch wrestling say, oh, that's what I want to be going. I watched Charlotte Flair at the main event of WrestleMania 35. That's what made me become want to become a WWE superstar. Stuff like that is what they should be doing. And they're not doing that. They're not doing that at all. And 90% of the people that WWE brings in, they did not watch. They're athletes and they haven't, have nothing to do with the wrestling business. So. But that's all I got for you today. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about some Ring of Honor stuff probably and some, probably some Impact. Probably get some talking there. Like I said, hot takes, other opinions, wrestling, football, all that stuff. Twitter down below, XFactorEnergy5654. X and MG are capitalized. Or just comment it and I will review it. Otherwise, and I'll also be doing my predictions for the Great American Bash. So you all have a good day. Stay blessed and have a good day. Yeah.